So the Championship delivers again, delivering its shocking results. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Lexalexus. Today I'm going to go through my Championship review of Matchday 14 in the Championship. We've already had our second managerial casualty. We've got more managers under pressure as well, and it's incredibly tight in the Championship table as well. Now, I've not done the Lexalexus Football Prediction League current standings by this video time, but hopefully before I can process this video, you guys are seeing the new updated table. If not, the shout outs go to Cameron Morgan Beatty for getting 14 points in this weekend. Unbelievable. Also, Jack BCSE and newcomer Jamie Kane as well for also getting at least 10 points as well. I only got 5 points. I didn't get a single correct score either. I was close, but very, very off for a lot of these games as well. And for the Lexalexus Football Prediction League 1 table, it's going to be more compact since we've had a lot of new viewers. So thank you everyone who has taken part in the Lexalexus Football Prediction League. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously helps the channel. Please do hit that subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help. Let's try and go for 900 subscribers as soon as we can. We're starting to get really close to 1,000 subscribers. It would be absolutely amazing if we can get there. And please share this video and this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really, really helps. But without any further ado, let's start going through my review of this weekend's games. So start off with the early game, which ended Cardiff 0, Middlesbrough 2, and it's ended in our second managerial casualty of Mccarthy getting sacked by Cardiff City. I did expect this. If they weren't to win in this game, it would have been 8 defeats in a row. I mean, it is 8 defeats in a row. Cardiff's worst home form, Cardiff's worst form, you know, in recent history as well. So all the unwanted records really coming back to haunt Mick McCarthy in this game. And Neil Warnock gets the victory against the former club he managed. And when I would compare the first couple or so minutes in this game, no team really edged it until Middlesbrough started to up the intensity in around the half-hour stage. They then won a penalty with a very, very dubious handball decision for me. Mark McGuinness is very, very unlucky, as I felt it was a bit of a ball-to-hand incident. But the penalty was given against Cardiff. Sporar stepped up and he wasn't going to miss based on his form. And that made it 1-0 to Middlesbrough. And by that time, Cardiff felt to me that they were dejected. They capitulated. They felt, oh, here we go again sort of thing. Second half, first 10 minutes of that second half, I was encouraged by Cardiff. They actually had two big chances for me. One of them was a brilliant save by Joe Lunny, and the other chance from a resulting corner ended up with Aidan Flint heading the crossbar. And I thought, okay, Cardiff, you know, if you take your chances here, maybe you might have a chance. But it had that feeling that it was not going to go Cardiff's way. And Middlesbrough should have scored more. They could have scored 3-4 goals, Middlesbrough, if they were more clinical. Martin Paella got the second goal, brilliant goal via his part, and brilliant build-up play to the goal as well. And hopefully that sets off the mark of his season. He's a player that I'm really excited to see how he develops. With Cardiff, I think the down point was the fact they were only in the game for 10 minutes and the fact they only had one shot on target at home. So hopefully for them is that they can find a new manager. I mean, hearing numerous favourites, Chris Wilder, Alan Pardew being two names I've been hearing being thrown around at the moment. It'll be interesting to see who they do go on with. As with Middlesbrough, they now find themselves in the top 6 following result. And then to the 3 o'clock game, so we see Birmingham pick up their first win in 8 games with a 2-1 home victory against in-form Swansea. Now, what I saw with this game is that Birmingham didn't play a lot of the ball, and that was to be expected. Swansea were going to have a lot of the ball, 72% of the possession. But the old problems we had with Swansea of being too slow in terms of their build-up really came back to haunt them. And what Birmingham did well, it reminded me of their performance against Sheffield United in the opening day of the season. They pressed really well. Tahith Chong was bursting through with a lot of energy going forward. And with his wicked deliveries, he created chances. And I think Birmingham were a little bit unfortunate not to even score, you know, too soon. Hogan had a goal disallowed in the first half. In the second half, literally a couple of minutes in, Troy Deeney gets his first goal from open play. It was brilliant play by Tahith Chong, actually. He was involved running through the space that was created by the Swansea team. Brilliant cross and brilliant touch by Deeney, and his second time strike goes into the net to make it 1-0. Now, Birmingham should have wrapped the game up. There was a one-on-one moment where I think it may have been Hogan who just needed to go around Bender and it would have been a goal, but he completely mucked up his touch. And this opened the door for Swansea to get back into this. They weren't in the game at all. They didn't even have a shot on target. But until then, they actually managed to get a goal with their only one shot on target in the game. It was actually a direct approach for how they got their goal. So actually switching up the script, which is what I needed to see Swansea do a lot more of. Eventually, Obafemi gets into a good space. Brilliant goal by him to make it 1-1, his first goal for Swansea. But that was short-lived because Riley McGree managed to make it 2-1. And he's a player that I've heard a lot of really exciting things about. Birmingham fans are really, really excited about this player. And I'll definitely be keeping my eye on him in future games. Great win for Birmingham. Brilliant performance actually to have 6 shots on target too. With Swansea, back to the drawing board for me. They do definitely need to try and find a way to mix up their approach and just to make them seem a lot more difficult to play up against, because when they're going to have a lot of the ball and they're not going to create chances, it's just going to be so easy for teams to press and to create chances because of the space that they're going to leave in behind. Where we saw Blackburn return to winning ways with a 2-0 victory over Reading. So Blackburn got their goals from Sam Gallagher and Tyrese Dolan, and they both came in a period of 3 minutes. Now, Blackburn for me were in the game, but they didn't really promise any quality in terms of taking the chances, and the same goes to Reading too. Blackburn, and I've said this already for the umpteenth millionth time, when they don't have the ball and they require to play on the counter-attack and to try and win an interception, that is when Blackburn are deadly, especially with the creative players and the pacey players they've got down the wings as well. Now, Sam Gallagher scored the first goal, of course. Tyrese Dolan's goal is the one I definitely want to highlight, though. The individual brilliance he had for that goal and the strike that followed was a French kiss. It was so perfect, and my Preston could do with him right now. But it was a brilliant game, and Blackburn, for me, turned a slight corner because I know, of course, in the last 4 games they were winless and they were really struggling to match the incredible start they had to the season. This is now going to be another good run of form for Blackburn. Considering how close they are, they need to take their wins as much as they can. They're only 1 point off the top 6 and they're all the way down in the bottom half of the table, which is unbelievable. With Reading, I mean, they're right up there in terms of the table despite a defeat today. It was just a performance that they just didn't turn up for me. And the West Lancashire derby returns with Blackpool getting the win. A 2-0 victory over Preston North End, 17 miles away from them. And I believe it's their first home win against Preston since 1986. So that is a very, very good record for Blackpool. Now, the game at the start was a typical derby, very, very close. No teams really gave way. Both teams wanting to set the mark already. And I think both goalkeepers were tested before we got our first goal. And it came from Keshi Anderson. James Husband was the one responsible in the left-hand side. Brilliant hooked ball to find Keshi Anderson to make it 1-0 to Preston. People could say Iverson should have done better because it wasn't the cleanest of strikes. But it wrong-footed Iverson, and by that time he would have been too off balance to save it. For the second one, it was Gary Medine with a goal, which I was very surprised to see him on the score sheet at all, remembering for what he did back in his Sheffield United and Cardiff days. But brilliant work by Jerry Yates. He's definitely going to have to get a load of applauders for the goal, to have the touch and the control, and for perfect weighted pass to find Medine too. That made it 2-0 to Blackpool, and I think they deserved it. Definitely going forward for me, Blackpool were the better team, despite Preston having slightly more of the ball. There was a little altercation near the end, which I think it was between Connolly and Sean Maguire. But Alan Brown, who was already got involved, and I believe if the footage shows it right, he may have grabbed someone by the neck. I mean, I'm not too 100% sure of that, but that was when I first saw the footage. And of course, if you're going to do that, you're going to get a second yellow card, if not a straight red. So Alan Brown got sent off. Ultimately, bad day in the office for Preston, but a really good day in the office for Blackpool. Now we talk about Bournemouth completely taking the championship by storm. 34 points they find themselves already with a 3-0 win over Huddersfield. And start of the day for you, they've actually had the second best championship start ever in history. The only team that have actually got more points for them at this stage of the season was Sheffield United in the 05-06 season. Even the 113-point Reading team didn't get this many points at this stage. That just goes to show the consistency, but also the organisation, but I think more importantly the experience and tactics. And I think that is what is important for this Bournemouth team. They're very versatile the way they play. And I think their confidence, how dangerous they are going forward, how they take their chances, I mean, they got their first goal for a penalty, and the fact that they really set the tone in the first 10 minutes, they just found it so easy, so comfortable for them to defend the lead. And eventually Solanke got his second goal as well. That was definitely a much better goal. And then Lloyd Kelly with the third goal in the 64th minute. Probably the best goal out of the 3 goals we've seen. Huddersfield, I'd say, were a bit unlucky not to get one. They had one opportunity that cannoned off the woodwork. But apart from that, they didn't really turn up with 4 shots and only 1 shot on target throughout the whole game. But it's clear to see that Bournemouth are the favourites. And I didn't expect them to click so quickly, especially for what I've seen, how vulnerable they were defensively, set piece wise, against West Brom in the opening day of the season. They've really worked on that, and I'm really impressed with them. With Huddersfield, not the end of the world, they're still up there in the top part of the table. Now, Coventry's 100% home record has been diminished by bottom team Derby County with a 1-1 draw. And I think this result was deserved. Now, you could look at this saying, oh, hang on, Derby have only had 1 shot on target. What makes you think that they deserve to get a point with their only 1 shot on target? But you've got to look at performance. Now, possession-wise, nothing really could separate them. There was very, very little there. But in terms of creating chances, I think Coventry did better in the first half. They set the tone immediately when they won a penalty. But you've got to give Derby a load of credit. In that second half, they combated well. Kazim Richards went agonisingly close to equalising when he had a shot that came off the post. But then, within minutes later, literally, Graham Shinney gets the equaliser. I really think he's such an important player. And generally, I actually think he can definitely turn this form around. So, 1-1 draw. Not really a result that both these teams wanted. Coventry would have still wanted to be in the chasing pack in the top part of the table. Derby need all the wins that they can. So a point could be seen quite vital, but ideally they need 3 points, really. And you've got to admire Derby's difficulty to break them down. Only Bournemouth and West Brom have lost less games than Derby have had this season. So fair play on Derby. They're really starting to be a really tough team to play up against. Then we saw Luton combat Hull with a 1-0 win. Now this game for me didn't really explode. Elijah Adebayo scored the first goal in the 17th minute of the game. But really, apart from that, we didn't really see too many fireworks take place in that game. One thing I will be a bit concerned with Hull City again is their lack of chances on goal, with only 1 shot on target throughout the entire game. Although with 10 shots, at least they're still trying to create anything, but they've got to be a lot more clinical than this. Luton, I felt, probably wanted to try and score a couple more than just that 1 goal. They just, I felt, were very comfortable in this game. Actually, following this win, they find themselves in the top 6 as well, unbelievably. Now, with Hull, obviously they're going to be in the bottom 3. Definitely, they're going to have to be relying on results going against them to try and get across. After a disappointing defeat against Peterborough midweek, this is the last thing that they needed. Then we saw Millwall continuing their brilliant form with a 2-1 win over Stoke. Gary Rowett winning against his former managed club. So, sweet, sweet revenge from Gary Rowett there. Now, it was Romain Sawyers who took the lead, and I did feel Stoke were the better side, especially in the first half. They definitely dictated the game and controlled it. Romain Sawyers got Stoke's reward with a goal, but Tom Bradshaw completely flipped the game on its head. First of all, he got the equaliser in the second half, and I don't know what Gary Rowett said to that Millwall team, but it definitely worked, because in the second half, Millwall, whilst they did have chances in the first half, never really looked too close to scoring a goal until it came to the second half. Tom Bradshaw, with 2 goals in 10 minutes, completely turns the game around, and Stoke once again failed to pick up a single away point. Their away form is really starting to affect their season, unfortunately. As with Millwall, they've got to keep this form up, because obviously we've criticised them a little bit for drawing too many games, but now Millwall have actually won 4 games out of their last 5 matches. So Millwall right now are now starting to really pick up their form, convert their draws into wins, because I think any other day when Tom Bradshaw scored that 1 goal, it would have just been 1-1 and they wouldn't find the chances to get the winner. So fair play, Millwall. They're doing really, really well at the moment. And for the first time this season, Peterborough make it back-to-back wins and back-to-back 2-1 wins, which is amazing stuff for Peterborough and Darren Ferguson. I think this is their best win so far. I would argue their win against Derby was a bit more clutch following the circumstances, but I think this game definitely showed everything that Peterborough are about. if they get knocked down, they get back right up again. And Elias Chair scored a brilliant corner goal. It came from a corner, and I don't know if he meant it, but he scored directly from a corner to make it 1-0 to QPR. A game in the first half where it was pretty close, but I think Peterborough had a slight edge over QPR. Then QPR take one of their chances, of course, from a corner. But within minutes later, Harrison Burrows gets the equaliser. Brilliant work goal by Peterborough. But they still had faith that Peterborough can snatch something till the very end. And they have been accustomed to getting late goals, especially late Siriki Dembele goals. And he managed to get one once again for Peterborough and the West London Stadium against QPR. And this could be a very crucial win for them. They find themselves 5 points away from the relegation zone, which I think will be very, very crucial at this stage of the season for Peterborough. With QPR, bit disappointing for me how they threw that away. We've seen it time and time after again for QPR, but how they're throwing the lead away. They really got to try and defend the lead better. That's definitely one of their weaknesses so far. So as long as I can defend the league better, then I could definitely see QPR improving. Last Saturday game, we go to the Hawthorns, where West Brom won by 3-0, but this game was marred by 2 incidences. One fan from each opposing team going off ill and life-threatening potentially for what I've heard. But I'm glad hearing that both sets of fans are okay. I wish them a speedy recovery. Obviously, I think the delay in the game definitely ruined the flow of it. And Jordan Hugill scored the first goal. I think that was the best goal West Brom had scored in that entire game. The build up to it was absolutely brilliant compared to what I've seen as West Brom in the last couple of days or so. Carl Bartley scored the second goal. Very, very direct goal. A typical championship goal for what you see. A long throw in. And then Carl Bartley winning the header to make it 2-0. And I think the fact that West Brom scored just before half time, I think it did eradicate Bristol City's chances of getting back into this. And it was made matters worse, obviously, in half-time. That's when the second incident took place, so kickoff was delayed even more. But also, there was a mistake as well. A really, really bad back pass, and Carlin Grant just simply gnashed onto it. Very easy goal, made it 3-0 to West Brom. Nathan Baker went off injured too. Nothing went Bristol City's way. And it was a shame for them, really, because it did seem quite one-sided again if you look at the stats. 23 shots to 7, 9 shots on target to 2. West Brom definitely were good. They definitely turned it up. I can't deny that. But I think Bristol City definitely could have churned a better performance than that. So I guess a bit unlucky in terms of the circumstances for Bristol City. Now go to Sunday's game. So we're seeing some goals in these Sunday games. So Sheffield United beat Barnsley by 3-2. Now I thought it was going to be a very comfortable win for Sheffield United based on their second half performance. Lys Mousset with a very quick brace. And I got to give a big shout out to Ben Osborne, who was a really big part, especially in Lys Mousset's first of his goals. And Ben Osborne even scored himself to make it 3-0. And I thought, okay, this is curtains for Barnsley here. But you've got to give them credit, you know, despite actually going, I think it was when they went 2-0 down, Barnsley really started to churn more opportunities. And you're thinking, why didn't we see this from Barnsley sooner? Devante Cole got one back to make it 3-1, and then Aurelien Isquer getting his first goal for Barnsley, making it 3-2, and we thought maybe Barnsley could get back into this. But to be fair, Jokanovic and Sheffield United definitely defended Barnsley's storm very, very well in the final 10 minutes, and they held on for what I think could be a very crucial 3 points for Sheffield United, especially for how tight this part of the table is. They definitely needed to try and stay within that pack. They're only 3 points away from the top 6, which is absolutely crazy based on the start they had. With Barnsley, I just think there's a lot of frustration going around at the moment, and obviously there's something in there. They're just not getting the wins and enough of the performances consistently. You know, why did they perform so well only at a very small period of the game? A bit similar to Cardiff. So a bit concerning going on with Barnsley at the moment. They definitely find themselves in a really, really bad position. And then Steve Cooper's first defeat in Nottingham Forest falls in the hands of Fulham. And it's definitely a defeat that will definitely sting for Forest fans, especially who were flexing their ego a little bit based on their fantastic form. Now, DJ Spence's own goal in the 7th minute definitely didn't help things. But you got to remember, you know, when Coventry played against Fulham, they conceded a very early own goal and actually went behind 1-0 down at half time. Same with this game as well, with Nottingham Forest. But they hit back hard and won by 4-1. Complete antithesis happened in this game. Mitrovic scored 2 goals, including 1 penalty. And Neeskens Cabango scored the 3rd goal to make it 4-0 to Fulham. one of their most comfortable wins so far of the season. And what was disappointing, there just wasn't enough times of Zinkernagel going through to the right hand side and laying a cross in. There was a chance where Rodak had to make a good save for, but that was the only shot they had on target. There was just not enough moments of the wingers going in and Graben, potentially the vocal point up front, getting his chances, and Graben in that game wasn't great either. Bad day of the others for Nottingham Forest. We'll be interested to see if they can bounce back. With Fulham, they definitely find themselves in a pretty unique position now. They're now back in the top 2 of the table. They now just got to try and compete with West Brom, and hopefully that they can catch up with Bournemouth. So that wraps up my review today. This is the Championship table after match day 14. So Bournemouth, Fulham are the top 2 at the moment, a 5-point gap though. So Bournemouth running away with it a little bit at the moment. And then West Brom in 3rd. You could definitely get a 3-horse race vibe going on, a bit similar to the 18-19 season. But if you notice, from 5th place to 11th place, those teams are on 21 points. So it's incredibly tight, that region of the table. Then only 1 point below that, you've got Blackburn in the bottom half of the table. And in terms of the teams in danger, you've definitely got to be looking at the teams like Cardiff, who are now managerless, of course, and the 3 relegated teams, Hull, Barnsley, and Derby. So we've got no midweek fixtures this week. So today I'll end off the video with my Lexalexus awards. So goal of the weekend first. There's a couple of goals I want to give this to. I'm going to give it for Tyree Stone's goal. That's the goal that's sticking to my mind at the moment. It's the most memorable goal I've seen. Just the individual brilliance of Dolan and the strike. That's going to be my goal of the weekend. Player of the weekend is very, very tricky. There's a couple of people I do want to give this award to. But I'm going to give it to someone who I don't think gets enough credit. Sol Bamba of Middlesbrough. If you saw Cardiff and Middlesbrough live, Sol Bamba was a very crucial part to that Middlesbrough defence and actually really stifled Cardiff's attacking flow. He was the reason why Cardiff literally didn't get a footing in that attack. So Sol Bamba for me gets my player of the weekend. And finally, for result of the weekend, sometimes you go by the biggest scoreline, 4-0 for Fulham, of course. But I'm going to give my result of the weekend to Blackpool 2, Preston 0. For Blackpool to deal with the nerves of the West Lancashire derby for the first time in 10 years and to churn in a performance like that, I think they deserve to get my result of the weekend. But that will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. It does really help the channel. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can. And please share this video and this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really, really helps. Also, keep your eyes out for FIFA 22 Predicts, which always comes Monday, 4:30 PM. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for seeing this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.